Hello, Dr. James Bogash, expert in health and longevity, and today we're going to have a little chat about thyroid and how it relates to longevity. And we can't have a discussion with that without having a discussion about why the thyroid gland seems to go south in so many people. And it just surprises me, like if your heart stopped beating and you're at 25, we'd be panicking trying to figure out what's wrong. But when your thyroid function starts to drop at 22, 23, they're like, oh, you've got hypothyroidism, here's a drug to fix it, without any concern as to why that's happening. And we're going to talk about why this study suggests that's really a bad approach and may actually shorten your lifespan. So stay tuned as we cover all this stuff. But the first thing I just want to point out, this study is really interesting in all the details that they looked at. And it was looking at longevity and risk of mortality and thyroid function, both TSH, free T4, and free T3. Keep in mind that TSH is derived from the pituitary. It prods the thyroid to do its job. The thyroid generally produces more T4, which is the less active form of the vitamin or of the hormone, and then that T4 gets transported to where it's going to be needed and it's converted to T3. So T3 is generally considered the active form. Free T3 versus T4. Free is unprotein bound, generally considered the active form. Protein bound thyroid hormone is not active. So the researchers looked at free T3, free T4, and TSH. And they found that T4, like higher levels of T4, actually increase the likelihood of somebody dying, so shortened longevity. Keep in mind that Synthroid and levothyroxine are T4. They're a synthetic version of T4. And studies on T4, like looking at taking thyroid hormone to improve your life and everything, it doesn't really have an impact on longevity. So this study really kind of goes in coordination with that. But they did find that free T3, higher free T3 meant that people were less likely to die and was associated with longevity. So, like, we're taught that T4 is really it and that's all you need to do, and yet how many people out there are given Synthroid or levothyroxine and they're still check boxes for symptoms of hypothyroidism? They're still checking every single one of them, even though their labs are normal, and they're taking these drugs to fix the problem. The problem is it's not fixing the problem. And the other thing is that T4 needs to get converted to T3. There are a couple things that affect that conversion. And in this study, they found that socioeconomic status played a big role in that. Not a big surprise, but we're going to talk in a minute about why that might be happening. And that employment played a big role. So staying functional in society probably meant that people were going to live longer as opposed to unemployment. So when we look at this, so what can we do? Like, why does thyroid function go south? It's been described that thyroid is the yellow canary of the human body. So if you don't know what yellow canary in a coal mine means, go ahead and look that up. But if there's something wrong in the body, it may show up in the thyroid first. So instead of looking for what might be wrong, we just give the thyroid hormone, and that doesn't make any sense. So number one, stress is not good for the thyroid. It actually, T4, instead of getting converted to T3, gets converted to something called reverse T3, which is inactive. Stress absolutely drives that conversion. Heavy metals. We know that, again, the toxicity issue with thyroid is huge. So heavy metals are another thing that can affect thyroid function. That's cigarette smoking, that is cadmium, lead. Don't go chewing on any windowsills with lead-based paint. Environmental chemicals, BPA and phthalates, are known to affect the thyroid. So that's another one that can affect the thyroid. Again, don't address those, just give somebody thyroid hormone. Prediabetes is a huge player and probably the number one thing that starts to drive poor thyroid function, thyroid nodules, thyroid cancer. Everything bad with the thyroid is related to prediabetes. So again, don't fix that. Just take a medication and your labs will come back and you'll be fine. Everybody will high five each other and pat each other on the back. And the last tip 5 is selenium and iodine play a big role in that conversion. First of all, making thyroid hormone in the first place, but converting that T4 to T3, selenium is a really important factor in that. So making sure, like maybe do a handful of Brazil nuts per day. Seaweed is a great source of iodine. I just recently did a post on iodine and how it relates to longevity. But a good quality multivitamin will also kind of cut across some of those deficiencies that might be affecting thyroid function. I will post a link to this particular study in the description. I'll also put a link to I've got a long article on thyroid function that covers all of this, and you can read through more of what we just talked about in heavier detail. As always, make sure you like this video, share it with somebody who you think needs the information, and subscribe to the channel.